Today's video, I will be talking about the best metal albums of August so far. So what I'm going to do is, first I'll talk about the albums that I did full reviews for. I'll talk about them briefly. And then I'm going to talk about another 7 albums that I didn't review, but I think they are worth just giving a listen to. So let me just jump right into this, get started. So the first one is Soulfly Totem. This one I did a full review for. Just a really awesome album. Max Cavalera, just anything that Max does is just really great. This is a really heavy album, and I think it's really great. I love it. That's what I'm going to say about this one. Then Amon Amarth, The Great Heathen Army. This was one a lot of people didn't like. A lot of people said it was boring. I get a lot of comments saying that this is like one of their worst. I don't think it's that bad. I think they're starting to get like a little kind of cheesy, going into more of this kind of like Man of War or even like a Five Finger Death Punch kind of style, because they have a song called Get in the Ring. I mean, they're a little cheesy, but I think it's decent. I think if you're a fan of Amon Amarth, I think it's okay. It's not really horrible, but it's just okay. Then Arch Enemy Deceivers. This one I'm not going to talk too much about because I did the full review and I just did a ranking video of Arch Enemy. So I have talked about this one a lot, but I do enjoy this one a lot. I have ranked it. It's ranked fairly high, so spoiler alert. So you can look for that video on my channel. And then the last one, Halo Effect with Days of the Lost. This is a band comprising ex-members of In Flames and I think Dark Tranquility. This is just a band that has that like that Gothenburg metal death sound. That's pretty much what you get with this album. It's just it's very good. It's just a decent album if you like that sound, that style of music. So check out the Halo Effect, Days of the Lost. Now let me get into the a little longer reviews. The first one I'm going to talk about is Norma Jean, Deathrattle, Sing For Me. So when this album came out, I didn't listen to it. Metalcore is not one of my favorite genres, and I kind of got a little bored of those bands. There's like Under Oath, As I Lay Dying, The Devil Wears Prada, all like those types of bands. But I watched a few reviews, and I decided to give it a try because a lot of people were saying some different things about this, and this album is kind of weird. It's not like a typical metalcore album. It's very experimental. They do some atmospheric stuff, some like noise rock. The songs have a lot of feedback in the guitars, and it's not bad. I do like that 90s grunge, so I like that like aspect of it. But they mix in some modern sounds, but they still kind of remind you that they're a metalcore band, even if the lyrics are actually weird as well. For example, there's a song called Memorial Horde. It quotes lines from like John Lennon's Imagine, and then they mix these weird like post-metal sounds, and I keep saying the word weird because that's kind of when I think of it. But it is an album that I think it will grow on me after a few listens because it's not your typical metalcore album. If it was like a normal metalcore album, I probably would have forgotten about it, but it's unique, and that's kind of why I decided to talk about this. Next is Psycroptic with Divine Council. They are a technical death metal band from Australia. This is the first time I listened to them. They've been around a while. They have 7 albums. This is a genre of technical death metal, so it takes some time to get used to it. If you're not accustomed to like extreme metal, it's kind of like not very easy listening. But this album, Divine Council, it's 38 minutes long. It has 9 songs. This is a good length for this type of album. Most of the album is very fast-paced. Sometimes they change tempos a little. So, for example, the song The Prophet's Council, that kind of is like a slower intro, but this song, like the others, they're all very brutal and technical. That could be a negative if you, like a lot of variety in your music and there's no clean singing. The songs kind of like, sometimes they're hard to distinguish from like one song to the next, but if you listen to this a few times, it's kind of easier to get into. It's just very technical. There's lots of like drumming. It's like very fast drumming, blast beats, all very technical. And I keep saying that word technical again. But if you like this style of music, then you would like this album. Now, for something completely different, H.E.A.T with Force Majeure. They're a melodic rock band from Sweden. Now, if you know these bands like Eclipse or Wet, those are like more popular in Europe than they are in the US. But if you're from the US, I can compare them to a band like maybe Whitesnake or Bon Jovi. This is the band's seventh album. They've been around like since like 2008, and the songs are like melodic arena rock. They have like this, the distorted guitar chords. They have lots of keyboards. Some of the songs reminded me of like a band like Deep Purple. Some of the songs are very catchy. The type of songs that stick in your head. Most of the songs are mid-paced rockers. So there's like a ballad called One of Us, and it's just like a typical love song power ballad. Like if this had come out in the 80s, it probably would have been a hit. Like if it had come out in the States at least. It's a type of album that, you enjoy. It's melodic hard rock. And it's just a consistent album. It's a fun album. Kind of like the musical equivalent of like a popcorn movie. The songwriting is not very complex. It's just very catchy songs. And that's all I have to say about this one. Next I have Toxik with Dis Morta. So this is a thrash band. They released 2 albums in the late 80s. They broke up in 1992. Now, many years later, they're back. They have a new album. Now, on my first listen, I thought they kind of reminded me of that band Forbidden. They had a few albums in the early 90s, but the more I listened to it, the more like I noticed that they are kind of like a little experimental. They do some like falsetto vocals, something like King Diamond. They do some like neoclassical stuff. This band is heavy, and the music is fast. It's kind of like more like speed metal. But lots of good songs here. For example, the song Power. That's just basically like speed metal with lots of energy. Then they do something called Hyper Reality. This is a little more like a prog metal song, something more like Voivod. So most of the songs are very like spacey. It's kind of like science fiction lyrics. They do some like odd time signatures. So this is not a typical thrash metal band. They do kind of like experiment a little with their sound. I probably listened to their older albums like years ago. I don't really remember them very well, and I haven't had time to go back to them. But I'm thinking that, it's probably like a progression from their original sound, but definitely worth a listen. Then I have Hellfire with Wrecking. So this is a new band, and they play classic heavy metal and speed metal. This is their 4th album, and they've only been around like 6 years. So this is one of those bands, kind of like the band Haunt, where they're very prolific. They keep putting out albums, and I thought it's good to have a cool throwback sound. So I think the biggest influence I hear is Iron Maiden. So, for example, like the first track, it has that very like Maiden-esque kind of like slow melodic intro, and the vocals are like a mix of like thrash and traditional like metal vocals. Lots of metal riffs. It has the sound of like classic metal, maybe some power metal mixed in. There's a song called It Ends Tonight. This one is just straight out of the 80s with classic metal riffs. And then another song called Thrill the Chase. This one reminded me more of the like Paul Di'Anno era Iron Maiden. And another song, Addicted to Violence. That's kind of more along the lines of speed metal. So there's like a little bit of variety, but it's just mostly classic metal. So if you like that 80s metal sound, you'll like this. Next, I have a fairly popular band called Sunstorm with Brothers in Arms. So, Sunstorm is a band started by Joe Lynn Turner of Rainbow, and now it's fronted by Ronnie Romero. So, he was actually on the last Rainbow album. So, the sound is, like you would guess, kind of like that Joe Lynn Turner era Rainbow. It's melodic AOR, arena rock, kind of similar to the band H.E.A.T, but I think that band H.E.A.T had more of that like European feel, and this is more of like a classic rock type of a band, similar to Rainbow, Deep Purple, even like Journey. Another band, they kind of put out albums very quickly. So I remember that last album came out, it was last year. And I was actually going to review it on my channel, but I never got the chance to. And now it's about a year later, they have another album. And it opens with the title track. It's like a rocker similar to something like maybe Deep Purple's Highway Star or something like that. And it just has those like fast chugging guitars. Then they have some other songs like Games We Play. It's a little more laid back, an arena rock ballad. The band Journey comes to mind. And then they have some other stuff. No Turning Back. That's like a Deep Purple style rocker. Back in My Dreams, that's like 80s style glam metal. It's like a power ballad, that kind of thing. I'm thinking of Whitesnake in that one. But this one has a lot to offer, so if you like this type of music, definitely check it out. I'm going to talk about one more band, and that's called Stormbound, and the album is called December. They are a symphonic metal band, and they're from Israel. The album December is their debut, and I enjoyed this one a lot. It's 9 songs, about an hour long. Some of the songs are long, like 8 or 10 minutes long. The rest of the songs are about like 4 or 5 minutes. Just very epic music, something similar to like Nightwish or Epica. The guitar riffs are heavy, there's some orchestral elements, and they have both those like male and female vocals, so it's kind of like a nice balance. Now, the vocals for both the male and female are clean vocals, so if you like this type of music, symphonic metal, power metal, you'll get into this band. Some stuff is heavy, for example, a song called Altar of Innocence, some thrashy guitar riffs, lots of twists and turns. Some songs get fast, the song Sacred Lies, that's a fast one. Then they have some like groove metal influence and cool tempo changes and other ones. They have some more laid back stuff, and the song Away From Here is pretty good. And the album's well rounded, so check it out if you like this kind of thing. That's all. I'm going to end this so this video is not too long. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. My name is John. Please remember, like, comment, subscribe. I do rankings and all that good stuff. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one.